So in this video, I will be giving my spoiler review of Black Panther Wakanda Forever. So if you enjoyed this video today, feel free to like and subscribe for future Marvel content. This is a spoiler warning for everything that happens in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. So I will try to give a short recap, as short as I possibly can make it, because this film just had so much going on with it that I tried to condense it as much as possible, but it was very hard to. So to give a recap of what happened, so it opens with T'Challa dying of an unknown illness and Shuri trying to make a synthetic heart-shaped herb to heal him. So they have funeral proceedings for him because he obviously passed away, followed by an incredibly powerful Marvel Studios logo where it showed nothing but Chadwick as T'Challa, and it was just full silence. So it was really powerful to have that moment of silence for him. And then it jumps to 1 year later, and Queen Ramonda is in front of the UN, who is accusing her of not offering resources that were promised, and about how dangerous vibranium is, when it cuts to French special forces attempting to steal vibranium in a Wakandan outreach center in Mali, and the Dora Milaje apprehend them and bring them to the UN to show that Wakanda is still protected even without the Black Panther. Then it shows the CIA finding vibranium in the ocean, but they get attacked by the Talokan people and Namor, as he's pronouncing himself in this movie, so that's how I'll try to remember to pronounce it, stopping them from mining it completely. And the Talokan people were just presented as immediately terrifying off the bat, like them acting as essentially sirens and singing a song to make people willingly jump into the ocean. It was just absolutely terrifying to see. So Namor then goes to Wakanda while Queen Ramonda and Shuri are discussing their grief after a year after losing T'Challa, and he asks them to find the scientist who made the vibranium detector that the CIA was using and turn them into Talokan, otherwise there will be conflict. So Okoye convinces the Queen to let her take Shuri with her on this mission, and they go to see Everett Ross, who tells them that the scientist is someone at MIT, who is revealed to be Riri Williams, aka Ironheart, who is clearly not a full-fledged hero at this point, but she has been dabbling enough to have a start. So it's also revealed that she didn't make the vibranium detector for the government, for the CIA to use, but rather she actually made it for a school project at MIT. So after a little intimidation and them telling her that they'll just leave her to die by Namor, Riri brings them to her little setup in a car garage where they get surrounded by the FBI and police, which leads to a chase where Riri uses what I feel like we could call her Mark I armor, which is slightly reminiscent of Tony Stark's first armor in a few ways. It's not as heavily armored as his was, but the way the look and how it looks like it was made is very reminiscent to his first Mark I armor. So the chase ends with them being intercepted by Atuma and Namora, the generals, it seems, to Namor and Talokan, and Okoye puts up a great fight scene against Atuma, but ultimately loses. So to save Riri's life, Shuri requests to be taken to Namor as well, and so that Riri isn't killed, essentially. So Queen Ramonda strips Okoye of her title as Dora Milaje General, and just as a Dora Milaje period, in a powerful scene where she talks about how she lost everything and that she clearly harbors some resentment over the unquestioned loyalty over the throne when Killmonger took over in the first Black Panther movie and Okoye did not go with the Queen. So Everett Ross goes to the crime scene back in Boston, and it's revealed that Val, from Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Black Widow, is the new CIA director, as well as she's Everett Ross's ex-wife, which was an interesting reveal for them to do. To be honest, her character wasn't fully needed in this movie, but it's clear they're trying to establish her as an ongoing villain, which will most likely culminate in the Thunderbolts movie, because it looks like she's going to be the one to put that team together, but obviously that remains to be seen for that movie to come out. So anyway, Ross picks up Kimoyo beads at the scene and is later contacted by Queen Ramonda about what happened, but he doesn't know anything. So the Queen tracks Shuri's earring Kimoyo beads instead, and tracks her to the Atlantic Ocean near Mexico. So now she goes to Nakia for help, who is in Haiti. So Nakia agrees to help get the Queen get Shuri back, and we see Shuri and Riri in an underwater cave where Namor is pretty friendly, and he takes Shuri to see Talokan, which was just an incredibly beautiful city with very rich culture, just like Wakanda. So Namor explains after that now Shuri sees what he needs to protect from the surface world. So he also told her his people's backstory of almost dying out by the conquistadors bringing smallpox, and that they ate a glowing blue plant which saved their lives but turned their skin blue, and they needed to be in the water to breathe. So his mother was pregnant with him when she took the plant, and when he was born with the ability to breathe both in water and on land, with winged feet and pointed ears, and he labeled himself as a mutant, which is now the second person to be labeled that on Earth 616 so far after Miss Marvel. So Namor says he derives his name from the Spanish language when a Spanish priest labeled him I think he said, I believe, the child with no love, and he says that he took it because he has no love for the surface world after seeing what the conquistadors did. So Namor tells Shuri that this is only the beginning, and he wants to team up with Wakanda to burn the surface world, which he overheard Shuri say over her grief when talking about T'Challa. So Shuri says they can't do that, and that her people will come for her, and that she can't allow this Riri to be killed. And then Nakia does come for her and breaks them out, but she kills a member of the Talokan in the process, which initiates this war. So Namor and his people attack Wakanda and flood huge portions of it, while having some forces act as sirens and making people jump into the water. So M'Baku engages with the forces and attempts to attack Namor, who makes short work of him and punches him so hard he goes flying and gets the wind knocked out of him. So Shuri and Anika are trying to fight off some forces and rescue people in an aircraft, but Namor crashes them into the water, and then they are picked up and rescued by Okoye. So Namor goes to attack the Queen and Riri directly, who are in the throne room at this time, and he ends up flooding it with water grenades, leading to Queen Ramonda drowning while trying to save Riri. So Namor tells them that this was a warning and that he will be back in a week with his entire army and for them to bury and mourn their dead. He leaves after telling Shuri that she is now the queen. So we get a scene now back with Everett Ross and Val, where she reveals she knew about his communications with Wakanda and arrests him. So when he argues the good of the people of Wakanda and says, imagine if the U.S. had access to all this technology and vibranium and what they would do, Val responds by saying that that's something that she dreams of, which is an incredibly sinister comment, and I feel definitely solidifies her as an ongoing decent-sized villain in the MCU, with her being the CIA director. So the funeral proceedings are held for Queen Ramonda, and Shuri and Riri start brainstorming as to how they might weaken Namor and fight back. They realize that he needs at least some water on his skin to remain powerful, and that they could weaken him by drying him out. So meanwhile, the people in the main capital of Wakanda take refuge with M'Baku and the Mountain Tribe, and then Shuri gives Riri her own area to make a new suit, and Shuri successfully makes a synthetic heart-shaped herb, this time, however, using the part of the plant that the Talokan people used, which was infused into a bracelet that Namor gifted to Shuri when she went to Talokan. Okoye also goes to Anika, and they form a pair of what will be the Midnight Angels, using two new super suits that Shuri made for them. So Nakia and Riri help Shuri take the heart-shaped herb, and she goes into the ancestral plane. So while she's there at first, it insinuates that she will be seeing Queen Ramonda, obviously, but instead she actually sees Killmonger. So Killmonger tells her that she chose to see him because of how she views the traditions of Wakanda, and how she's consumed with the vengeful feeling for basically her brother and her queen. So Killmonger asks Shuri if she's going to be noble like T'Challa, or if she's going to take care of business like him, and then she wakes up in a shock. Nakia asks her who she saw, and Shuri says nobody, and while she's frustrated that none of her actual family appeared to her, she punches a mannequin and sends it slamming into the wall, showing that the heart-shaped herb did indeed work. So Shuri then grabs a new Black Panther suit and heads to the mountains to show that the Black Panther lives, and tells M'Baku how she wants to proceed against Namor. So M'Baku is against her plans of killing Namor because he is viewed as a god, so it could lead to an eternal war with Talokan, but since Shuri is so consumed with vengeance, she doesn't care. So the Wakandans take a ship to the Atlantic Ocean, and they draw out Namor and his people by putting a vibranium detector on the ocean floor, but they attach devices that emit loud sonic sounds to get them to leave the water. When they're then ambushed by Shuri and the Wakandans once they go to the surface, and then the Talokan people start climbing the ship when the Dora Milaje jump to the side and fight them off, along with Riri Williams, who is now in a new Ironheart suit, which is incredibly anime looking, which I like her suit design a lot, actually. So Namor is destroying some of the aircraft they had, and then Riri tries to fight him, and she actually manages to get him into an aircraft that they had, which has technology on it that dries out the air on the inside, so it'll dry out his skin. Shuri joins him on the aircraft and tells the aircraft itself to autopilot and fly to the desert, while Namor is attempting to destroy it while it was weakening him. So he manages to destroy it right above the desert, which leads to a brutal fight between him and Shuri, which has him stabbing his spear through Shuri at the last minute, and him attempting to go back to get some water for himself to recover. So Shuri recalls her moment in the ancestral plane with Killmonger, and how mad she was for vengeance and stuff like that, and she cuts part of the spear off and forces herself out of the spear and confronts Namor one last time. In a last stand, Namor says Imperious Rex, which is his comic book battle cry, and Shuri says Wakanda Forever, and she scorches his back up with fuel that she from the destroyed ship. So Shuri almost kills him, but hears her mother telling her to show him who she is. So Shuri tells Namor to yield, and she will protect his oceans and his secret from the outside world, and she won't kill his people. Namor does agree to this. He yields, and then they head back to the main fight, which the Talokan were about to win because they had pretty much overpowered the Wakandans, but overall the Wakandans won because of Shuri. The final scenes of the movie have Okoye breaking Everett Ross out of a prison transport, M'Baku challenging the throne because Shuri decided not to show up to the ceremony, clearly indicating that she doesn't want to be the queen, she just wants to be the Black Panther, and then she also went to Haiti to be with Nakia. So Namora confronts Namor about her feeling as though he is kneeling to the Wakandans, where Namor explains that when the surface world comes for them, they will turn to Talokan as an ally, insinuating it will still all lead to the surface world burning anyway. So in Haiti, Shuri finally burns her funeral robes, used for both T'Challa and Queen Ramonda, and we have a touching montage of Shuri looking back on moments we've seen throughout the MCU with T'Challa, where she is finally accepting her grief, and it cuts to the credits. So there's a powerful mid-credit scene where Nakia approaches Shuri still on the beach, and she introduces her and T'Challa's son, Toussaint. So Toussaint reveals that that is actually his Haitian name, and that his actual name is Prince T'Challa, son of King T'Challa. Watching this movie a second time, I also noticed Toussaint was also the child who initially greeted Queen Ramonda when she went to Haiti for Nakia earlier in the movie. So there's just so much that I feel and I could say about this movie that I don't even know if I'd be able to remember everything that I truly want to say. So for starters, this is the best version of this movie I could possibly think of without recasting T'Challa. Before watching this movie, I never had an opinion on whether or not they should recast T'Challa, but now I'm glad they decided not to, because this movie was it was so beautiful the way they did it. Everyone from Wakanda was terrific. Shuri's character arc directly mirroring T'Challa's from Civil War was just brilliant the way it was done. Riri Williams was a funny character, and there was barely any reference to Tony Stark with her, which I thought was an interesting choice considering she was making an Iron Man type suit, but I definitely enjoyed how they did it still, especially with her suit design being very anime. I loved her suit design. How they went about introducing Namor and the people of Talokan, I felt was amazing, with the deep Mesoamerican culture, which mirrors how culturally rich Wakanda is as well. So the changes made to Namor's backstory I felt could be some of the best changes Marvel has ever done when translating a character to the movies. His winged feet initially seemed a little silly, but they made him and his people absolutely terrifying in terms terms of battle power, especially Atuma, as when he fought Okoye and stuff. The references I was able to catch watching it a second time as well, such as Toussaint greeting Queen Ramonda in Haiti, makes it feel satisfying being able to discover new things when watching it so close after watching it initially. So all the action was well directed, although I could have truthfully done with some less slow motion shots. But overall, though, this movie is at least a 9 out of 10 for me, and it's currently sitting as the number 5 spot for all MCU movies for me, only under Infinity War, Endgame, Multiverse of Madness, and No Way Home. So I'm so happy that this movie turned out the way it did. I really was worried as to how it would be without Chadwick, but they honored him perfectly, and they did this movie justice. So rest in peace to Chadwick Boseman. Comment down below if you enjoyed Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and if you enjoyed this video today, feel free to like and subscribe for future Marvel content, and I appreciate you for watching the video.